Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to start a reading vlog for the Women's Prize longlisted books of this year 2024. I wanted to start this here because I've already read about a book and a half. Hopefully I'll finish one of them today. Enter Ghost by Isabella Hamad and Night Bloom by Peace Adzo Mehdi. I did give Enter Ghost 4 stars, so 4 out of 5 stars. I thought that it was really great, but let's talk more about it. We follow our main character who, after years away from her family's homeland and reeling from a disastrous love affair, Sonia, she's an actress, she returns to Haifa to visit her older sister Haneen. While she is there, she does not want to work, right? She's an actress, but one of her sister's friends, a childhood friend, is putting on a play of Hamlet in the West Bank and wants Sonia to be involved in it. She wants her to play Gertrude, who's Hamlet's mother, and she is apprehensive at first, but then she becomes a part of this play. And it starts traditionally with traditionally written narrative. In the beginning, for a lot of the book, it jumps back and forth between that and reading like a script, which I think is really interesting. So while they're practicing the play, it's in the script style, but even while they're just, some of the actors are just talking to each other, it is written like a script, which again, I think is really interesting. And takes us, I was saying this in my previous video where I was discussing the long list, you can see more of the script here, and takes us back to the theme of perspective and identity, how you identify, but how you interpret things, and how you interpret different people, how the different nations interpret what's going on, how different people interpret what is right and wrong, what people meaning behind things, and again, like I said, who people are, which I think was a really beautiful way to physically demonstrate that concept. Because when you're reading a play, acting, first of all, has to do with your interpretation of the character and of the play. And it's fascinating in this book, too, and we know from reading our own plays in real life, and it's fascinating in this play as well that there was a lot of discussion about, well, what do you see this character is feeling? Or what do you think this character means when they say this? What do you think this play means? What do you think this specifically means? And how would you play it? And how would the way that your inflection change the entire meaning of the play? And how would your clothing change the entire meaning and the message behind what's going on? And this group of people has to decide what message they want to send, how they each kind of combine their own ideas and ideals in sending this message through this play, which I think is really fascinating. Miriam is the name of the woman who is the director of this play. She's a really strong female character. This book is full of strong female characters. We have Haneen, Sonia, Miriam. I guess those are the main 3 primarily in this book. Which I just really loved reading from and reading about. They're all very different as well. So there's that kind of element to it, that layer of it being a play and it reading like a play, and showing us about interpretation. Like I was saying, they're having discussions about what it means. And when you're reading a play, this is what I was trying to get at. I apologize, I'm going all over the place. But when you're reading a play, you just get little snippets of stage direction, again, so you can interpret inflection, meaning, and emotion as you do. I think my favorite part about this book was reading it almost like a literary analysis of Hamlet in context of Palestine and the turmoil there. I guess some negatives about this book, because again, I didn't think that it was perfect. I didn't think that it was flawless, and I didn't give it 5 stars, is because I do feel like it was a little bit disjointed between all of the different things going on. But I suppose that is how life goes. We have so many different thoughts about so many different things and so many different corners of our lives and elements of our lives that do and don't all exist inside of us and in our brains at the same time, but different things come to the forefront at different times. But it felt a little bit disjointed between Sonia experiencing and seeing and witnessing all of the things going on around her and noticing things about her country with the personal side of it. So it would jump between that and then her personal life and her thinking about her love affair and this man that she had this affair with, and this new relationship that she's developing, and then her relationship with her family, and therefore kind of her country, but her relationship with her family and her culture and her identity and her sister. So it kind of jumped around between those things a lot, and also just the play in general. But that was my favorite part of it, the play, like I said. So that's why I didn't think that it was perfect. I didn't think that it was flawless. But I do think that this is a really good book. I think this is a really good book. Not perfect, but very good. Well, hello everybody. So, first things first, I lost all the footage. So I intended to film a vlog. I did film a vlog, but I lost the footage. I don't know. I don't understand technology. Something happened. It's not there anymore. No problem. So I apologize for that, but I thought I'd sit down and run through all of the books on the Women's Prize list. I have not yet completely finished the list. First, okay, actually, side note, if you hear any noises, it's because there's a 3D printer going on in the background. I'm sure you can hear that because it's very loud, but this is the only time I have to film this. So let me show you. Let me show you what's going on. This is what's going on. This is what you are hearing in the background. I apologize. It's so loud. So I think you already heard me talk about Enter Ghost. I do not have that with me anymore. I lent it to my grandma to read. I do not know her opinion on it thus far. I have yet to finish, so there's been 3 books that I haven't finished yet, and the shortlist is being announced in 1 week. I'm feeling pretty burnt out, actually, on reading all the Women's Prize books this year for some reason. So I have these 3 left. I have And Then She Fell by Alicia Elliott, which I already started. You can see it in there. And Hangman by Maya Binyam, and The Wren by Anne Enright. I was planning on leaving this one till last because I know I'm going to read it anyway. So, like regardless of the Women's Prize. So, or separate from the Women's Prize. So those 3 I have nothing to say anything about, really. These books here. So, after Enter Ghost, I read Night Bloom. I ended up giving this 5 stars. Is it in hindsight like a 5-star read? I don't know, but I'm just leaving it with that rating. This is about the 2 cousins. We get both of their perspectives. They're from Ghana. One of the cousins goes to America to become a doctor, and the other cousin stays in Ghana and ends up running her own restaurants. It's about different perspectives in family. It's about family, and it's about different perspectives on things that happen, situations, relationships, and life. It's also trigger warning for sexual assault, so that is also apparent in this. I really loved how that wasn't like the main thing in this book. It was something that happened to both of the main characters, but it was not the main point of the story. The main point of the story were really their lives. So I actually really appreciated that about this. I thought this was very moving, very well written. So I really liked Night Bloom by Peace Adzo Mehdi. And then I'm going to go out of order because I don't remember the order in which I read these. I picked up, so The Blue Beautiful World by Karen Lord. I actually ended up DNFing. I got about 70 or so, maybe 100 pages into this, and I couldn't even tell you what I read. I didn't retain a single bit of it. I thought it was really chaotic, jumped all over the place, had like I don't even know what the through plot was. I have absolutely no idea. I ended up looking up reviews before I decided to DNF it officially, and I think this is the 3rd book in a series. Either way, not for me at all. So that's The Blue Beautiful World. The most recent one that I finished was actually Ordinary Human Failings by Megan Nolan. I left this off with a 3-star. This was a very well written, quiet, and really heavy, pretty depressing story. It really, like, even thinking about this book, it just made me feel so heavy while reading it. And really the mundanity of ordinary human lives and how depressing being alive can sometimes be, just in general. And different things that happen to different people that shape who you are and shape your lives and shape other people's perspectives of you. But this is set in the 90s in London. We're following, and a little bit in Ireland, a small town in Ireland. We're following an Irish family who moves from Ireland to London because the young daughter falls pregnant. And so they're in London. We see this young child, Lucy, being raised at the beginning of the story. We're following a reporter. It's a little bit from the reporter's perspective, and we get the perspective of each person in this Irish family. And the reporter is trying to tell a story about how this young girl in the town was murdered. She was 3 years old, and they believe Lucy, the 10-year-old or the 7-year-old daughter of this Irish family, killed the daughter. That's, like, I guess the point of the story, but not really the point of the story. The point of the story is just about this family's history and this family's lives. So that's Ordinary Human Failings. I thought that it was a really great book, even though I gave it 3 stars. It really, I was really depressed while reading it, like, genuinely. And I don't know if it was because of the book. I don't think it was because of the book, but it definitely didn't help. So I just didn't have, like, a fun time reading it. I didn't want to pick it up because it was just, like, it felt quiet and pointless and too heavy, even though it wasn't pointless. I don't know. It's a good read. That's my opinion. And then we have Western Lane by Chetna Maru, which I read in, like, a couple sittings in a day. Super short. I also gave this 3 stars. This was the one that was shortlisted for the Booker Prize in 2023. And it's about a family of squash players, and the mom has recently died. And there are 3 siblings in this family, and the dad gets really intense about one of the siblings, our main character, playing squash. And she gets really into playing squash, and she's practicing all the time. It's about the different people that she meets at the squash court. And coming of age, processing this grief that she and her sisters have, and her father, over the loss of her mother, their mother. It's about, you know, a young boy that she meets, that she befriends, that she kind of has, like, young romantic feelings towards, kind of. I think she's about 13 in this, and I didn't think this was anything special. Like, honestly, it's a little bit forgettable. Nothing really resonated with me too much with this book. But it was good. Like, it wasn't bad. That's Western Lane. I'm trying to be quick through this, but that's Western Lane. I guess I could see it making the Women's Prize shortlist, but it was fine. It was fine. And then we have River East, River West by Ava Ray Lescure, which was actually another book that I DNF'd. This I tried picking up right after Ordinary Human Failings, and I think that, again, personally, like, my mental health affected me from connecting with this book. I didn't think that it was bad by any means. I just couldn't really access the story too much. It was fine. It wasn't lighting my world on fire. I think this is a book that, again, I made it about 100 pages into this. I think this is a book that a lot of people could enjoy, but maybe it wouldn't necessarily change their lives. And I just didn't want to continue reading it. I wanted to feel a happy, joy connection with something in my life, and I wasn't feeling it at that time, like a couple weeks ago or a week ago. You know, we do our best. We also have 8 Lives of a Century-Old Trickster by Mireille Lee, which is about a woman who works at a retirement facility, and she works there, or I don't remember if she volunteers writing the obituaries. Writing, like, the obituaries before these people die to kind of like help them process things. Like she interviews these people about what they would want their obituaries to say. And she meets this one woman who is in kind of like the crazy section of this retirement home. And this woman is telling the story of her life, which is a crazy life. Lots of things happened. And I think that what it says on the front, slave, escape artist, murderer, terrorist, spy, lover, mother. So like each section of this book is titled one of those things, basically. And so we get the story of that. Again, I thought that this was fine. I didn't think that it was groundbreaking. I don't think that this is going to change anybody's life, but I think that it was a good story. And I think that it was, while it wasn't like well written, I think that like it wasn't anything special. I think that it was good. Does that make sense? Overall, forgettable to me, personally. Moving on. I promise I have positive things to say about other things. Soldier Sailor by Claire Kilroy has been absolutely my favorite book on this entire list. And I have yet to read Hangman, The Wren, and Then She Fell. But this book I gave 5 stars. I hope this wins. This was so beautiful, so devastating, about postpartum depression, life after having a baby, raising an infant, this woman's first child, her relationship with her husband, her relationship with herself, and needing to feel connected to someone or something in her life. So she meets an old friend who's also kind of going through the same things, but he is a man. And yeah, it's stream of conscious. I thought that it was so beautifully, artfully written. I was sobbing my eyes out as I read this book and as I finished this book. Like, I'm actually not even kidding, sobbing my eyes out. This book was so good. This book is something I've said about a lot of these books so far. I don't think that they're necessarily like life. I've said about a lot of these books that they're not necessarily life changing. I think this could be life changing, really, or perspective shifting. It really made me question a lot of things about like I'm not a mom, but one day I hope to be, and it just made me question a lot about that and what that would look like and what that would feel like. And I'm not planning on being a mother anytime soon, and who knows if it would even happen, but I'm just saying this was a very affecting read. It made me think a lot about being a child as well, and maybe what my relationship with my mother is. Wow. So this has been the best, absolutely, so far. I hope Soldier Sailor wins, but we will see. I really do think that it's, based off of what I've read so far, I really do think that the winner is going to be between Enter Ghost and Soldier Sailor. That's my prediction so far. We have Brotherless Night by Vivi Ganashanathan, which is essentially about the civil war in Sri Lanka. And we follow a young girl who has a bunch of brothers, and she is wanting to become a doctor as well. So we see her kind of going through the process of going to school, and what her family life is like, and studying and all that stuff, and her relationship with her brothers and her brother's connection to all this violence going on around them. This was another one that I unfortunately had to DNF. I was trying to read this over Easter weekend when I was out of town, and I just couldn't access this. I could not connect to this story at all. I made it, again, probably about 150 pages into this book. I really gave it my all, and it just wasn't for me. And that's the thing that I always say about book lists and about this list, is that they're not meant, every single book is not meant to be the best book for one person. Does that make sense? It's meant to, I think, appeal to everybody, like have something on it for everyone, a wide audience, a wide range of books, and this just didn't do it for me. I know a lot of people have really loved this book though, And I don't think that it was by any means bad at all. I think that this could have potentially been a really great book, just not the right reading experience for me at all. So I could actually see this being shortlisted. I wouldn't be surprised. Yes, and then we have In Defense of the Act by Effie Black, which I also gave 5 stars. It's really like a 4.5, 4 to 5, but I'm leaving it at a 5-star. This really moved me. I've been thinking about it a lot since I read it. And I said in my old footage that I lost, this is the book, the only modern book that I've read, or the only other book that I've read that reminds me so much of Kurt Vonnegut, other than Kurt Vonnegut. Surprisingly, not exactly like him by any means, but it just kind of had like a sarcastic, witty, dry, inevitably depressing tone to it. And I really liked it. It really worked for me. I love that kind of a tone. So, but I don't think this book was perfect, which is why I say probably it's more a 4 or a 4.5. But we follow this woman who is a scientist, and she is studying suicide in spiders, and she's trying to create an argument for why suicide for people is probably a positive thing, like a good thing. So it's all about her relationship with different people in her life who have taken their lives, and her relationship with her father growing up, and her family dynamic growing up when her father tried to take his own life, but didn't, like he was saved, and he was a very abusive man. So it's about her relationship with her father and how that has affected her in her life now as an adult woman. Yeah, I think this shows really, really, really well how trauma really molds you as a person. And even when you think you've dealt with it, or you think perhaps it's not there in you anymore, it is. Like, it is. So I really like this. Makes me emotional. But yeah, I really liked that one. I thought it was really good. Then we have A Trace of Sun by Pam Williams, which was the dark horse of this whole list. I'd never heard of this before. It did not appeal to me. The synopsis did not appeal to me. But boy, oh boy, did I love this book. Right after finishing it, I gave it 5 stars. But in hindsight, I changed it to 4. Could probably be a 3.5 or a 4. It didn't last with me too much, but it was a great reading experience. I thought that the author really had the characters' voices down. They felt really real. We follow a family who moves from Grenada to the UK, and the mom, so we start with the mom and the son, and the father, the mom and 2 sons, and the father was in the UK to work and make money, and eventually the plan was to eventually bring the family with them. The mom leaves with the younger son and leaves the older son behind in Grenada, and then comes back and sends for him, sends for him 7 years later. So it's about how their relationship is kind of fractured. The relationship with the father is not, and the son, between the father and the son, is not great. How that has affected the son's mental health. And this is all about mental health completely. And I didn't really get that. I didn't know that going into it. It doesn't say anything about that on the back. I just thought this was really good. I didn't think that it was the most amazing thing ever, because I felt like it struggled a little bit at the end. I don't think that it ended really that well. I don't think that it wrapped everything up that well. But I think this was a really good book. I really would recommend picking this up, actually. So A Trace of Sun. Last 2 I have to talk about. We have The Maiden by Kate Foster, which is set in the 1600s in Scotland, and we follow 2 women's perspectives. We have, in different socioeconomic groups, we follow a prostitute named Violet, and we follow, at the beginning it's our main character. What's her name? Lady Christian. So she's being put to death. She's sentenced to a beheading. We find out on the first page and on the back because everyone thinks she killed her uncle, who was her lover, and she was married to this other man, basically. And so then we go back and we follow the story of how she got there and all the people like in surrounding the story and what actually happened. I thought this was good. I didn't think it was like super deep. I don't think it had too much to it, but I really felt like the characters were fully fleshed out, had great individual voices, specifically Violet. I didn't care that much about Lady Christian, but Violet was such a fabulous character to follow. She was the prostitute, and it's about all these different women, their relationship to this one man who's this wealthy man, and it's about what power women actually have at this time, and in historically, like what power do women actually have, and how this man kind of takes advantage of it and what have you. So I thought this was good. I gave it 3 stars. It was good. It was a solid read. I'd recommend it. It was a fun time, I guess, but also kind of dark. But yeah, that's The Maiden. I liked it. I'm glad I read it. Kate Grenville's Restless Dolly Maunder was a weird one, okay? It was really a weird one. I know that Kate Grenville is a really famous, popular author in Australia. I don't think this was that great, though, if I'm being honest. It was kind of odd. We follow the story of this woman who we know is Kate Grenville, the author's grandmother. It's the story of her great-grandmother or her grandmother, I don't remember, but it's probably her grandmother. It's in at the turn of the century, the beginning of the 1900s, and we follow Dolly Maunder, who is growing up in like a farming family, and she has bigger dreams for herself. She wants to go to school. She gets to go to school for a little bit, and then we follow her as she gets married, has children, moves around, and starts to build up this like wealth for her family, and how she's a very savvy business mind and what have you. I really didn't like Dolly Maunder as a character, and I'll get to that in a second. I did not like Dolly Maunder as a character at all. This did not go in depth into the story. It felt very laconic in that it felt super surface level. Would that be the right way to say it? I don't know. But it felt super surface level. And yeah, I know this story is supposed to kind of pay homage to, well, first of all, Kate Grenville paying homage to the story of her grandmother, which again I'll get to in a second. We get like a little snippet at the end from our author kind of explaining why she wrote the story. But I don't think, and it put it into perspective, but it really bothers me. Like, I don't think that we should need to have like an explanation for why the story was written for us to like understand and appreciate the actual story. Like, it should be able to stand on its own, and I don't think that it does that well without the explanation at the end. And basically in the explanation at the end, Kate Grenville explains that like she wanted to pay homage to the woman in the early 20th century who worked really hard for women's rights, essentially, who were maybe a little bit different than, I don't know, just different and unique and cared more, I don't know, is unique even the right word? Weren't necessarily family people who cared so much for working and making money and what have you. And how they worked really hard to, like, those women are why we are where we're at now. And so that was cool. That was great, right? Getting the explanation for it. But again, the story doesn't stand that well on its own. So I don't think that this is great. So that's Restless Dolly Maunder. If I had to pick my top favorites, so if I'm picking 6 favorites, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have 5. Okay, of the ones that I've read. Again, there's 3 that I haven't read yet. But I'm picking my own personal shortlist right now. We have Night Bloom by Peace Adzometti, Ordinary Human Failings by Megan Nolan, In Defense of the Act by Effie Black, Okay, no, I do have 6. Enter Ghost by Isabella Hamad. That was great. And Soldier Sailor by Claire Kilroy, and A Trace of Sun by Pam Williams. So that's my top 6 if I had to pick a personal shortlist. Again, that's not including or even considering these 3. I don't know what will actually be on the shortlist. I guess we'll see. I think that, again, the top 2 books, the winner will probably be between Enter Ghost and Soldier Sailor. If I had to put my money on it, that's what I'm gonna guess. But we never know. Yeah, tell me your thoughts. What did you love? What did you hate? What were you disappointed by? And what were you surprised by? I'd really love to know. And yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.